This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. It's our favorite day of the week, folks, Taco Tuesday. I don't know how you can not be excited for what's happening in the NBA right now. Oh, and a bonus, future Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. He's back in the studio. It's a win for everybody. Let's get started. Colin tells you he believes LeBron wants Paul George, but Dan Gilbert would prefer Jimmy Butler. Whitlock lays down a defense of Cavs owner Dan Gilbert getting rid of GM David Griffin, saying it won't matter that much, and Chauncey and LeBron have a great relationship. We officially welcome Ray Lewis as the newest member of the Fox family. The Super Bowl champ and 13-time Pro Bowler tells us whether or not his 2000 Ravens were the best NFL defense in the last 30 years. Plus, Super Bowl winner Eric Davis questions if race has something to do with Gronk getting a pass. Finally, would LeBron be a better fit for the Clippers or the Lakers? Jim Jackson explains why CP3 and LeBron don't fit. Ready for Speak For Yourself? Colin and Jason, take it away.
We're joined today by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson. Let's start in Cleveland, where a power struggle may be brewing as the Cavaliers announced they were parting ways with general manager David Griffin, reportedly over differences with owner Dan Gilbert about the future direction of the team. LeBron wasn't consulted about the decision and offered his support to the GM, who helped bring Cleveland its first title in over 50 years, tweeting, quote, "If no one appreciated you, Griff, I did. And hopefully all the people of Cleveland, thanks for what you did for the team for 3 years. We got us one." Colin, we all know the history between Gilbert and LeBron. Will a renewed power struggle with Gilbert cause LeBron to leave Cleveland?
No. It's still the best place to win a title easily. And LeBron's had two stages of his NBA career. Kind of finding himself the first time in Cleveland, and then from that point forward, the day he left for Miami, it's winning titles with All-Stars. And he's in the winning titles with All-Stars. He's now just turned into the back nine of his career. And Lakers don't have any All-Stars. And if they did, it would be Paul George and him, and that's not enough to get past Golden State. Listen, man, the dude's demanding. In your words, he can be needy. There's always bumps with LeBron on this different stage. Since he's gone to Miami, he's a needier star. He's more demanding star.
He's always been needy.
But Cleveland's where he's gonna win titles.
Well, listen, I think if you evaluate the actions of everyone, LeBron James, I didn't see him really caping up as hard for David Griffin as he did for J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson. So I think it's kind of an act. And then if you look at Dan Gilbert, if they say he didn't consult LeBron. So maybe everybody already knows we got one more year with LeBron, and then he's leaving for Los Angeles.
Where? To where?
He's not going to Los Angeles. He never consults LeBron. He consults people that know LeBron. And then seriously, look, LeBron, I'm not saying he wanted Griffin out or forced him out at all. But if he was adamant that David Griffin's not going anywhere, Griffin would still be there. Griffin, what I'm told, wanted $6 to $7 million a year. Now, LeBron thought he did a good job, wanted him back, but he wasn't about to go in there and demand that you pay this guy $6 to $7 million a year. Just like he didn't demand that JR and Tristan get paid. They have the same agent, but LeBron didn't go and say, you got to pay these guys that much either.
We got a clip. It sounds like LeBron's demanding
of saying they should be back. He said the same thing about David Griffin.
Not with this kind of passion.
I hate coming into another season 2 years in a row where one of my big guns is not here. You know, so for a leader of the team, you know, for me personally, I just hate to deal with it again.
That's not getting into money. That's what I'm saying, though. He didn't say you have to pay him $15 million.
Here's the bigger picture. LeBron wants to be a billionaire athlete, the first. And how do you do that? Michael Jordan crossed over that threshold once he had ownership again with the Hornets. That's going to catapult him to that status. So let's think about this in regards to short term, what does he do? But long term, how does he become majority owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers? He puts people in position, or his people does, that will allow him to control the situation towards the end of his career so he can do that. Whether he goes to L.A. or not, maybe the value of Cleveland Cavaliers falls. But to me, the internal struggle, what's going on at Cleveland is that I truly believe we got to keep our eye on, one, who comes in as general manager, president of ops, and see how they're closely tied to LeBron's camp, and then watch it materialize from there, because it's a play here. When you take over a big business, it doesn't happen overnight. Yep. It's things that are put in place over time that allows you to take majority control when you want it. Right now is not the time, but let's just see how these chess pieces move on the board and see if they start to favor LeBron.
Well, Chauncey Billups has had a business relationship with Dan Gilbert for years, dating back to when he played in Detroit. He's best friends with Tyronn Lue. And he's close with LeBron and those guys.
That's right.
So he's not going to have any problem, believe me, with Chauncey Billups being the GM or the president.
One of the things I want to make a point here, Dan Gilbert wrote an angry letter when LeBron James left. And everybody wrote Dan Gilbert off. Oh, my God, he's this terrible human being. He's racist. And I've known a different Dan Gilbert through one of my long-term friends who is very close to Dan Gilbert. Doesn't surprise me that Dan Gilbert's turning to Chauncey Billups, a black man out of Detroit. Dan Gilbert's associates and the people he runs with do not remotely paint him as racist. I think he gets a bad rap. I think this whole, oh, he didn't consult LeBron is a smokescreen. I think you make a great point. He never consults with LeBron. He consults with the people around him. I just think Dan Gilbert did something in anger one night that doesn't remotely tell who he is. I think he's a good guy.
Well, even without a GM, the Cavs are still busy trying to find ways to compete with Golden State. Good luck. We've all heard the rumors of a possible deal to bring Paul George to the Cavs. Reportedly, the Cavs are also exploring a multi-team deal that would bring Jimmy Butler from Chicago in. Whitlock, who's a better fit for the Cavs? Paul George, Jimmy Butler?
Well, since Paul George has made it clear he wants to play in Los Angeles, Paul George only has a one-year contract. Jimmy Butler, I think, has 2 years left on his contract. He's already been in consultation with LeBron and Kyrie Irving. I think without question, Jimmy Butler seems to want to be there, will be there perhaps longer than Paul George or committed initially more than Paul George. Jimmy Butler's the better fit.
I think Paul George is the better fit as a player, better pure shooter. I don't know who LeBron would rather play with. I think it's Paul George. But if I'm Dan Gilbert and I think to myself, I'm 90% sure LeBron stays. Mm-hmm. But if there's a 10% chance LeBron leaves and then Paul George leaves, I'm stuck with Kyrie Irving. If I bring in, but here, my point is, I think LeBron wants Paul. And I think Gilbert wants Butler because I think Butler protects him. Oh, yeah. That if LeBron bolts, well, I got Kyrie and Jimmy Butler. We're probably still the first or second best team in the East. Yeah. Who does LeBron want to play with?
The Cavs are pretty confident that if they get Paul George, he would stay because you're going to the finals. You may win it. Even if you lose a tough series, it's tough to leave that to go to what may be a lottery team with the Lakers. But for your reasons, you're right. I mean, Jimmy Butler, contract-wise, so on and so forth, is a better fit.
For the long term,
player-wise, I'd rather have Paul. Because if you have to give up Kevin Love to get Butler, Butler's not replacing the rebounding for Love like George, because George wouldn't rebound as much as Love, but he's certainly a better rebounder.
He's longer.
He's longer, but the intangibles, too. Now, again, I think we talked about this. No matter who they bring in, I think they would have to change the offense a little bit more for Paul George than they would for Jimmy Butler. Because there's some things that Jimmy Butler can do, I think, that can fit within the framework of what Kyrie and LeBron do as far as dominating the ball. With Paul George, he's going to need some guidance in regards to kind of playing without the basketball, but talent-wise, size-wise, he's a little bit taller than Butler is. He's longer, rangier defensively. So that gives you something when you're playing against Golden State to be able to match up against a Kevin Durant in a 7-game series, to be able to give him problems that I don't think Jimmy Butler will look at. And Colin, to your point, having that multi-year deal still in place, having some success a little bit may make Dan Gilbert look at it long-term a little bit more. But the ultimate thing is, who can they get and what makes sense?
Paul George, I think, has a better sense of who he is. So Paul's been a star, and he's gone against LeBron, and he knows his place in the world. He's not LeBron and probably knows he'd have to share the ball a lot. Jimmy Butler, to me, feels like needs to sow some NBA oats. Mm-hmm. Like, he's still, you know, Greg Popovich always says, we draft people in San Antonio that are over themselves. Like, if you're not over yourself, we're not drafting you. That's why they like Kyrie. Or Kawhi, excuse me.
Yeah.
I kind of think Jimmy Butler's not over himself.
You know what would be interesting, and Chris, you could probably speak to this best. Remember Joakim Noah was Hollywood is hell, talking about.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler would add to that. Hollywood is hell. He might be a bit of a drama king.
That's one of the complaints in Chicago is that once he became a star, remember, this is a guy that wasn't even a star in high school, let alone college or early in the pros. He became Hollywood once he became a star. And the Bulls just don't know that he's that leader that you build around. That's why he's even on the trade block.
But how would that dynamic, adding that to Cleveland, play? You got Tristan Thompson dating a Kardashian.
You got J.R. Smith and all his stuff.
Yeah, you got Noah. I mean, already, you know, LeBron's Hollywood as hell. Yeah. Is that a good match personality?
Well, it just depends, because I think the thing here with Butler is that when you come into a situation that gets thrown at you, now you're the man, you don't know how to react to that, because you're going to make some decisions based on what you think you know about how to be the man. It's not just being the man on the court. Being the guy means everything involved in the organization and how you lead. I think one thing he can learn, because he didn't have this from Derrick Rose, he has LeBron as a barometer on how you handle and navigate through all of this. So that could be a benefit to Butler once he gets in there, because if nothing else, he's going to be able to respect what he's seen from LeBron, and LeBron being in his ear saying, listen, you can do A, B, C, and D, but we need you to be here to do this, and this is how we can all benefit. So I think he does have that.
If you could get either one, George or Butler, who would you
I'll get Paul George.
You get George.
I'll get Paul George.
I just think if you get Butler, who are you getting to replace Kevin Love?
You're not. Paul George is much better in the pick and pop. I mean, you know what I mean?
It spreads the floor better.
It spreads the floor better, yeah.
Welcome back. We're joined by Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson. Let's return to LeBron James, whose future has been the subject of heavy speculation this week. USA Today now says that LeBron signing away from Cleveland was a significant factor in the Clippers hiring Jerry West, but the Clippers aren't the only LA team in the running, with the Lakers being mentioned in multiple reports as a likely destination for LeBron next summer. Colin, which LA team do you think is more likely for LeBron to land?
I think it's the Clippers. What part of the Lakers? Tell me where LeBron wants to go to a mediocre team with no big-time all-stars. Well, like now they could land Paul George, and maybe Lonzo's better than everybody thinks. And the Lakers are dysfunctional at the top, marginal at the bottom. I don't think he'd ever have a chance to own. They don't need LeBron James for an ownership position. I don't think he's going to leave Cleveland. I don't get the Lakers. And by the way, then he walks in and he's got to compete not only against MJ's legend, but Magic's and Kobe's and Shaq's. I don't see it. I cannot envision LeBron in a Laker uniform. I can't.
Listen, you just rattled off the reasons why he would end up in L.A. because that's where Wilt ended up, that's where Kareem ended up, that's where Magic ended up. It's where all the great players go to be stars. Right downtown L.A., Staples
He's
Center.
already a star.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, so was Kareem. So was Wilt.
Kareem went during his prime.
So was Shaq.
After only a few years in the league in Milwaukee. Shaq. Same thing.
By the way, recently, when they've had guys like LaMarcus Aldridge and Dwight Howard in the room, the Lakers haven't had the personality to close the deal. If they had Jerry West, I'd maybe buy it. Who's going to close the deal with LeBron?
Magic.
Who?
Magic.
The thing is, that, look, most likely you were right. He's staying in Cleveland. I think there's very slim chance he leaves at all. Okay. Okay. There's no chance he's going to the Clippers.
Why not?
He's just not. He's not a Clipper.
Is that what your sources say?
Just trust me. He's not going to the Clippers. Right. All right. The Lakers. I mean, again, if he were to leave, that's the franchise that makes sense. Because you're right. They could have Paul George by then. Lonzo Ball would be good. They're the Lakers. I don't see either one, but I'd say they have a better chance.
The Clippers don't even make sense. For his brand, LeBron, a Clipper, it doesn't feel right. The Lakers sound better in regards to LeBron James, but let's keep in mind, we're a year out talking about him having the opportunity to opt out. What do the Lakers do in that time span to build the team in order for him to win? Again, LeBron is all about winning championships, improving his marketplace, money-wise. And going to the Lakers, yeah, you have the viability. You live here, but you're not going to win anything anytime soon. So it makes more sense for the Lakers. If I was LeBron James, I wouldn't go to the Clippers.
I got one more for Colin.
What?
I got one for LeBron James sitting home. Who do I want to play in front of? Jack Nicholson or Laverne and Shirley?
Clipper crowd is totally different than the Lakers. Even when the Clippers right now are kind of like the face of LA basketball, it's just a different feel when you're at a Clipper game
Penny Marshall,
than you are when at the Lakers game.
I don't think he's leaving Cleveland.
Yeah,
that ain't the question.
And here's the thing, too.
Now you want to die.
I'd like your opinion, Jimmy. I don't think Chris Paul and LeBron are fit at all. Because Chris does not want to give up the ball, and LeBron wants the ball. Like, they would
It's great for USA basketball and stuff like that in the summertime
Okay,
when
but
you do this.
Where would he fit with the Lakers? If Lonzo's your point, Brandon Ingram's your 4, Paul George is your 3, where's LeBron fit on that team?
Lonzo can catch and shoot, and
he's willing to give the ball up, too. If you watch Lonzo play, he's not a guy that has to dominate the ball all the time. So it's a little bit different than Chris Paul.
You go play in front of LeBron.
Yeah.
Very special welcome to NFL legend, Fox football analyst Ray Lewis, who is now an official member of the FS1 family.
Yeah. Still didn't work out with London Fletcher, so we settled on our good friend Ray Lewis, whose legendary 2000 Ravens defense was ranked by Football Outsiders as just the 3rd best of the last 30 years. As you see there, Ray's squad is ranked behind the 2002 Super Bowl champion Buccaneers and a 1991 Eagles team that didn't even make the playoffs. Oh. Cowherd, you looked at this list. Is the 2000 Ravens defense the best of this group?
It's tight. It's what's funny about the NFL, the rules change. Like, Chris McAllister couldn't grab you anymore on the sideline. By the way, the best defense I've ever seen was the 75 Steelers.
Last 30 years.
Last 30?
That's all we talking about.
Are the Chicago Bears in the last 30 years?
No, that's
85.
outside of 30 years.
So that's outside of 30 years?
We talking about this group. Look, this Philadelphia team that they got ranked #1.
They couldn't.
Personnel, I get it. Jerome Brown, Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Eric Allen. Great personnel.
So you're giving me this window?
Yeah, that's what this is.
I'd probably say Baltimore. Best ever I saw was 75 Steelers. Best out of this window is the 85 Bears. I always consider the Ravens the 3rd best defense of my life. That's the window I use.
I'm gonna narrow it down. I was at this Super Bowl in 2000. It's the greatest defensive performance I've ever seen from a team and from an individual. Ray Lewis put on a show. I joke and kid about Ray Lewis. Watching Ray Lewis made me emotional. I love football. That was the greatest defensive performance I've ever seen. I wrote at the Super Bowl that year. I came up with a nickname for him, The Perfect Storm. If you ever saw that movie, that's what this 2000 Ravens defense was. It was the perfect storm of total destruction and annihilation.
I thought they lacked some lateral mobility at middle linebacker, but other than that.
Not in 2000. In that 2012 team, he got carried by Flacco, you're right. In 2000,
I wasn't throwing it. Wasn't throwing it.
It's one thing to carry Joe Flacco. It's another to carry Trent Dilfer. Now, I know you guys are tight, so you're not going to... Listen, that's the weakest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. And that's not a super knock on him, but that speaks to how great the defense was.
Yeah, look, I have this argument more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, simply because I go in eras, and there's a new era that my sons is going through right now, right? Because they're like all LeBron. But they never saw Michael Jordan play. So they're like, LeBron is better than Jordan. And I'm like, son, it's your era. And all I'm saying about our defense is every defense, every team, every great team, they have eras. Everybody has eras. And in that era, I don't care who you put there. There was nobody better than us in that era.
And for the rules.
Yeah, for what I'm just talking, when we stepped on the field, for what we did, there was nobody that we knew for a fact that was better than us in the world. That's what a world champion is, right? A world champion is someone who isolates that moment for that 16-game stretch, going into the playoffs. And we started to sense history a little bit because whispers started to happen. They ain't scored in 3 games. And I said, we had a conversation and said, how great we really trying to go? Because if we really trying to do this, then everybody got to be accountable.
Can I play devil's advocate, Ray?
Please.
Okay, there was no Peyton Manning. There was no Tom Brady.
But you're talking.
There was no Ben Roethlisberger.
But you're talking about errors.
Oh, yeah, correct.
I can't ask them to be born or play no differently. You know what I'm saying?
You guys did beat Gus Frerotte in the first round of the playoffs.
I beat whoever lined up.
Well said.
Beat your ass right now.
Somebody's got to play devil's advocate.
So let me play devil's advocate in the opposite way. 2012.
Yeah.
We ran through Andrew Luck. We ran through Peyton Manning. We ran through Tom Brady. And we ran through Colin Kaepernick. Which ones do you trade in?
Best team ever.
Which ones do you trade in? The champion is still a champion at the end of the day through that era, right? So when we talk about dominance, I watch dominance. I know what dominance is. The 1985 Chicago Bears, Mike Singletary, he was one heck of a football player. But Wilbur Marshall was a totally different attitude for me. So I'm telling you, I studied that. I watched the Ronnie Lott defenses and what that San Francisco.
Was that the best defense? Take out your Ravens. What was the best defense you've ever seen?
I'm telling you the defense.
85 Bears.
85 Bears.
Yeah, that's the best I've seen in my life.
85 Bears.
Okay, I just want to be clear here, though. That Tampa Bay defense with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, I think John Lynch was on that.
They were good.
They were good.
That was a hell of a defense. And Brad Johnson at quarterback, not much better than Trent Dilfer. Look, the Eagles had great names and great personnel. They didn't make the playoffs. You don't make the playoffs, it's hard for me to have you in the conversation.
They didn't bring a ton to the table offensively.
I agree.
But which is what the argument goes back to. We knew that history. We knew what the Eagles didn't do in '91. Yeah. That was the thing we wanted to finish, right? Without scoring an offensive touchdown in October.
You guys didn't score a touchdown in October?
For 5 weeks.
Wow.
It was Jamal Lewis or nothing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ray was pretty good.
Yeah, he was solid.
Let's start with Gronk, who, according to TMZ, dropped over $100 grand partying with the bros at a casino club in Connecticut this weekend. Video footage of the Patriots tight end sipping champagne, taking off his shirt on the dance floor. But Gronk denied the bill was that high, tweeting that he'd give that much to charity before blowing it at a club. All right, Whitlock, as usual, there's no outrage about Gronk's partying. Does he get a pass for his off-field antics?
Yeah, there are certain athletes that get a pass. Charles Barkley was one. He spit on a child. He threw a man through a plate glass window. He was pulled over while drinking and, trying to get service. And Charles Barkley's lovable and beloved. There are certain athletes that break through and the rules just don't apply to them.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tight end. He's a goofball. If you're not a quarterback, I don't care a ton. I don't see him as a Patriot leader. I just see him as a really good player. It kind of falls into the Odell Beckham stuff. If it's off season and you're productive in season, I'm pretty okay with it. I did worry about Gronk initially in his career when he was doing physical stuff and body slams on the stage. That's when and he was dealing with injuries. That was idiotic. But I'll say this about anybody that's a non-quarterback. If you're hanging out in the offseason, doing what 27-year-olds do, I'm okay with it. He's not a leader to me. He's just an athlete. He's a player.
We had an NFL rep tell these young guys that this is the guy you need to follow. But this is the same guy that has not finished a full NFL season since 2011. Why follow him? I don't get it, right? So we're talking about this guy, young kid, have a good time. That's the one thing I always tell people. There's a time for play, then there's a time for work. Then you got to, if your resume shows up like his resume, which from 2011 he has not played in a full game, which means something else in your life you need to cut out so you can stay on the field and not be hurt every year. If I'm your teammate, that's what I'm saying to you. Oh, bro, I think you need to chill out on y'all the party because you ain't been healthy yet for the whole year. So now you want the new breed to come in and you want the new breed to say, okay, off season come up, I'm going to do like Gronk. I'm going to go in and party all day, but I ain't going to. Really? Because the real role models.
Would you pay him?
Pay him what?
Would you?
What am I paying him for?
Well, what they paid him, what they did pay him accordingly. They paid him accordingly, so he's going to have to play to get it. It's performance-based now. That's what they're doing.
Does that bother you?
But what does it? No. Well, the question is there a double standard? And there really is. There's a double standard for Gronk. You said, and you prefaced this with non-quarterback, but Cam Newton did a video. And you were saying, you know what? It's childish. He needs to grow up. He needs to do all these things. I mean, it was a video that he made.
I didn't go crazy.
You didn't go crazy.
A lot of people did.
You didn't go crazy. No, you didn't go crazy, but you were like, it's childish. He needs to grow up. He needs to focus.
I like my quarterbacks to be quarterbackial.
Well, but but Gronk gets a pass because, well, he's not a leader. Gronk is too valuable to that team to not be considered a leader.
Valuable.
Gronk is a leader on that team. Guys are going to watch Gronk. Guys are going to pay attention to what Gronk does. So he does get a pass for some reason. There is a double standard. And I know you mentioned Charles Barkley. I can't think of the football player that gets that kind of pass other than Gronk.
I can't think of that football player that gets that type of pass. I'm talking about from the history of what I've seen growing up all the way through. You got to think about what we're telling our kids. And we're highlighting this.
Well, Jose Canseco was kind of a goofball.
We went to baseball.
Yeah, we went to baseball.
I'm trying to think here.
You can't think of. I mean, like even T.O. T.O. used to get in so much trouble for doing the things he did,
yeah, but he
wasn't
a bad
drinking.
Teammate.
He wasn't. Well, that's what I'm.
Is Gronk a bad teammate?
But I don't find the teammates that keep saying he was a bad teammate.
T.O.?
I mean, yes.
There were some, but I get your point.
But you get my
point. You raise a legitimate point. There were some teammates that had a problem
but they keep finding ways to do that. I mean, like even the boat trip with Odell and all of these things, it's like, what are you doing? But for some reason with Gronk, it's never, what are you doing?
With Odell Beckham and the boat trip, it feels in season.
Well, it was in season.
But forget in season, it's the whole look.
Right.
Who else?
It's
what
still
other
the
football
same
player?
look.
Yeah, what football player can go to a casino, run up that kind of bill, act crazy, and the commissioner not be calling it?
You can't.
A high-profile player.
Listen, you cannot, ED. It's simple.
I know. That's what we're saying.
I'm sitting here trying to think of a football player. Maybe it'll come to me tomorrow, or maybe there is none. But, I mean, because you'd almost have to go back to, like, Joe Namath, and that was a different era, a different spotlight on players and teams. Let's just cut to the chase, though, from both of you. We don't have to spend a lot of time. Do you think the double standard is related to race?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'll say it out loud. Yes. That's why Cam's video was such a big deal. Right. And you can always throw the caveat, well, he's a quarterback. And then Gronk, it's like, well, it's just Gronk being Gronk.
Yeah, but I like, for instance, Odell Beckham's crazy and Gronk. I mean, they're personalities. Yeah. Odell's a personality, Gronk's a personality. I think Odell's issues, they feel connected to the team. They're in season. Like, I don't care about it.
Well, again, their point is Gronk on the sidelines in street clothes in season.
In season.
That's a problem.
In season.
And they're saying he's not taking care of himself or his body. Ray, I just want to do you want to put any meat on the bone to your contention that the double standard is related to race?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's related to simply we have took a real bad step backwards if this is what we're saying to our kids now, that there is an off season. There is. But to be great, there is none. And that's where if I'm Gronk's leader or somebody that needs Gronk to play, I'm saying, bro, look, instead of clubbing, come train with me every other morning. Come make sure you're in yoga class. Come make sure you stay flexible.
Are you bothered by the fans or the players or the commissioner? Like, what bothers you about nobody calling out Gronk? Like, who bothers you most? Teammates?
The guy has not played a full season since 2011.
No. But is it
that bothers me?
Is it the media's not on him enough? His teammates need to ride him harder? Does Goodell need to say?
We called this guy, arguably. You're talking about talent. He's probably one of the most talented guys I've ever seen play the position of football.
And nobody gets on him.
And we're talking about a guy that we're calling, listen to this, arguably one of the greatest tight ends ever. Back to my point, we got to stop crowning people who ain't worked to be crowned. Yeah, it's good that put a few seasons together. But you go back and check Tony Gonzalez's resume. You go back and check Shannon Sharp's resume.
Do you think we've anointed Gronk to a level he doesn't deserve?
We're missing what greatness really is. You have to earn greatness. We're already talking about this may be the greatest tight end ever. Really? And he can't stay healthy, but we highlight not his training, we highlight his party. Wow, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I went too hard when I was freaking playing.
This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. I notice all the new subscribers to the podcast. Welcome to everybody. I know it's a lot of NBA fans out there. It's going to be a chaotic couple weeks. Stick with us. We're on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Speaking of sticking with us, Chris Broussard and I did a Facebook Live today on the FS1 Facebook page. Check that out. It was pretty interesting. We disagree on a lot of stuff. We made you think about Paul George. I'm pro D'Angelo Russell for Paul George. Broussard is pro Kevin Love. We really get into it. We discuss some trade rumors. There's some interesting rumors about the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Love floating around. You'll want to check that out. And of course, the Boston Celtics, Porzingis. It's madness, folks, and we've got it all for you on the FS1 Facebook page. See you tomorrow.